Welcome back to the IE427 garage, everybody. We're just plugging along, trying to get this car finished. We're working on the 25th anniversary car, Pauline. Getting nose aluminum in, finishing up stuff in the trunk. We're going to jump on maybe putting the windshield in. So stay tuned. Alright, so here's what I'm doing tonight. I am concentrating on getting the aluminum in the nose of the car started. This Factory 5 nose aluminum is not made for the Factory 5 aluminum radiator. It's made for a donor Mustang radiator. And they haven't changed it. All the way back since the Mark 1, they keep the same design and trying to get it to fit around all of the intricacies of the Factory 5 radiator versus a donor radiator, just making it really hard to get it in there. There's a lot of trimming, there's a lot of cussing. I've spared a lot of that for you, but I do have the two side panels in. Tomorrow I'm going to probably work on the lower panel because I do have some silicone sealant drying in a couple of areas in the oil cooler opening, and I just put a little bit of silicone in one last spot that I missed on one of the brake duct screens on the driver's side. So let me turn the camera around. I'll turn the light on. We'll see what everything looks like in here. So you can see I've already got Clecos holding everything in place on this side and over on this side. Now if you look, the slots that are cut line up, oh, get the camera in the right angle, line up with the bowl holes. No problem on this side, right? Well, the radiator's in level. Plumb level and square. But over on this side, she no match. So, little bit of trimming to clear the bolt heads, which I've done. You can see in there, I've just cleared them a little bit. And then it was tight all the way at the top. So, it took some major trimming to get this panel to fit in there. Not a big deal, but it's in. So, what I'm going to work on next is going to be finishing up this bottom piece of aluminum, and I'll probably get to that tomorrow because we're nearing the end of the evening right now. Here's the little piece right there in the center that I had missed the silicone, but I got that all in place today. And then I went ahead and I siliconed in the front aluminum mesh that we've got here in the front for the oil cooler opening. So that will dry overnight and that'll be ready to take off the braces tomorrow and be all ready to go. So I will catch up with all of you tomorrow. All right, everybody, next day we have radiator nose aluminum complete. So I'm going to grab my trouble light. So you can see after quite a bit actually, trimming and fitting, I finally got everything to fit nice. I did add a little bit of bulb seal to the top of the aluminum just to kind of direct more of the air through the radiator. So we got it on that side and we got it on that side. Now this is the side, the driver's side, that took the most amount of fitting. The entire top of that panel had to be trimmed to fit. And then where the bolts come in for the overriders, that all had to be trim and fit as well. I have a single rivet, pop rivet on each side, right there and right there. Let's see if you can see it. Right there, that are holding everything in. That other hole you see was where the powder coater hung the thing to powder coat it. It was going to go right into the radiator tank, and I couldn't have that, so I did not put my pop rivet in there. But that's the only thing that I have holding the center piece. So it moves. Now, it's not going to move. It shouldn't rattle with driving or anything like that. But I'm going to leave it up to the car owner. If he wants to put something in there to fasten that to the fiberglass across here, that's up to him. I think it looks better without it. At the very worst, he could put maybe a piece of self-adhesive foam in between. So if it does rattle, which I seriously doubt because it's in there pretty taut, he could do that. But I try to make this as clean as possible. And you can see I just put rivets going up the side and then that single rivet on each side of the front piece to hold it in. So everything came out really nice. Now, other things that I've been working on today were, let me see if I can lower this down just a little bit without crushing the car that's under it, is the trunk. And so I'll show you what I've got going on in the trunk in just a second. Okay, I think this is the last thing I'm going to tackle for tonight. I got this cover for the inside of the trunk all fabricated, textured, and painted, and so it's all ready to go now. So I'll see you guys tomorrow night. All right, next night I am working on the windshield, and it's probably all that I'm going to get done tonight, and I probably won't get it done. What I did first was these legs for the side of the windshield are going to be long. You can get this one in here, but then it rests right on top of the fuse box, which I'm not a fan of. And then that one over there, the leg will actually hit the top of the foot box. So what I've been doing lately, and I haven't found it in any of the recent assembly manuals from Factory 5 for the Mark IV, I cut 2 inches off the end of those legs. You can start with 1.5 inches and try that. It'll be really close, but 2 inches, you still have plenty of length on the leg to get to the bottom bolt, and it's been working just fine for me. So I did that first, and then I went ahead and I got help. You want to have help, especially around the painted body, when you try to lower this thing in. Now, I cut the ends on the bandsaw, but you can use an angle grinder with a death wheel. You can use a hacksaw. You can use a sawzall. Just make sure that you take a file or the grinder with a flap wheel and clean up the sharp edges on the end, because accidents happen. And as you're trying to lower this thing in to mark for your holes, the last thing you want to do is scratch the paint. So you can do one of two things. You can either tape all around here, put masking tape all around here just in case, or make sure you have someone helping you that has a steady hand so that you don't scratch the paint as you're putting that thing in. And then what you're going to do is reach in. What I do is I reach in through the opening here back into where the windshield post is going to be, and I determine the angle, or close to the angle that it's going to be, by putting my fingers through the 2 mounting holes and just kind of moving the windshield up or down so I can tell exactly where the center of that post is on this side. And then on the other side, I actually drop the fuse box and reach in underneath the dash to get to the bolts over there. Now, I'm just marking the 2 holes. Once you mark the 2 holes on each side, so what you're going to do is you're going to mark from side to side where your mark is, and then once you pull this back out of the car and set it over on the bench, and I like to use the foam that came with the windshield to rest the windshield on, because that way there's no stress on the glass when you lay it down. Once you get those marked with a mark across the post, it's actually going to be down here under the body. Then you're going to shoot for the center of the post, make your line, cross your other line, and then that's your drill point. And you're going to drill those out to a 1/2 inch. Now, I found that the best way to drill those is either all at once with a 1/2 inch drill, meaning don't use a pilot bit, or to use a step drill, a step bit. If you try to creep up on it with smaller bits, that's brass, and it'll catch that brass and it'll twist your arm off when the drill catches. So just be careful. So the step drill bits seem to work really well. The more steps, the better. Now you're going to have to, it's going to take you a while, and you'll have to go in from either side, because the drill bit is going to get really hot trying to drill through that brass because it's soft and it wants to melt. So just be careful when you're drilling those. The holes in the body are much bigger. They're 3/4 inches around. So what that does is it gives you some adjustment in your angle once you get that in. Now, depending on which escutcheons, which trim plates you use. So if you're using the ones from Factory 5, and these new ones are actually pretty nice, then you can measure without them in, because they do not hold the windshield up at all. But they're notched for that. If you use the ones from Breeze Automotive or even from Mike Everson, make sure those are in place before you mark your holes. Because if you mark your holes and those aren't in, you might find that you don't have enough adjustment in your windshield once you go to try to bolt it in for the final time. So make sure you put those in before you measure for your holes to drill your windshield. So this is all ready. I'll probably have help tomorrow night to pull it back out, put it over on the bench, drill it, and then I'll have help again to put it in, because it's just easier. I can do it by myself, but I'd rather not. So that's all I got for you tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. Welcome to tomorrow. We're going to get this windshield in. So I've already got the other side bolted in, and it's just snug. I don't have it tight, so there's a little bit of movement in it. Like I mentioned yesterday, make sure that you get your trim pieces in here as you're resting it down in there. You can fuss with the gasket later, but you can see they're just loose. They'll just sit in here for now. But this side is kind of tight. It'll still move if I push on it, but it's snug enough that it's keeping the windshield kind of in place right now. On the other side, what I'm working on is shimming. And you can bolt it in according to how Factory 5 says, but in all these years, I've shimmed every car that I've done, and not one of them has ever been reported as to the window or the windshield cracking. Might be good luck, don't know. I hope it doesn't start with this one, but here's what I do. That side over there, I bolt in right next to the windshield post. So the windshield post and the windshield mount are tied to one another. Right now they're just snug. Over here, what I want to do is I want to get some shims in there that are following the profile of the actual windshield post. So as I've found by using different stacks of washers in there, what this one wants is it wants a single washer towards the top, and it wants two washers towards the bottom to keep it to where it's not pulling the windshield in. Because when you're pulling it in, you're actually bowing the windshield, right? So what I do is I take washers, just like this, 1/2-inch washers, and I stack them together to get whatever thickness I need. So here's 2. And if that's the thickness I need, then I take some foil tape, just regular old foil tape that's used in air conditioning. I tape 2 of them together, like this, because this gives me a tail to slide in there. And if the tape is just enough friction to hold it in place, then it will stay in there while I try to feed the bolt in, because the hardest thing on this side is getting both your hands in there at the same time. So I do all this from the engine side. So I'll slide this in with my right hand through the engine side, and I'll get it into the place between the windshield post and the windshield mount. And then once I get the bolt in there, then I will insert the nut in through the louver opening on the side of the car up into there. I'll lay across the top of the car here, and I'll reach in with my left arm on this side, and I'll reach in with my right hand and arm on that side. So I'm going to get going on that, and I've already got the top bolt in, so all I got to do is get these washers or these shims in place and get the bottom bolt in, and then I can start tightening that in place. Once it's all snug, then I'll adjust the angle to where I want it. I usually try to run these a little bit farther upright than laid back because I'm a tall guy, but you know, you can do it to your preference. So if you follow the instructions in the Factory 5 manual, you'll get it really close to where it needs to be, and then you can just fine-tune the angle of it to whichever angle you desire once it's in there and snug. All right, I'm out in the shop tonight, and I'm going to show you how I do the roll bar trims. Now, these are the roll bar trims that come with a complete kit from Factory 5. I like the ones from Mike Everson, but let's just say that I'm using these because that's what came with the kit. Take the bag of hardware that came with your Factory 5 supplied roll bar trim rings and toss them in the garbage. Because using machine screws with washers and nuts in the farthest side of the trunk that you can possibly reach is just asinine. So I toss them away. I think they're 4x40. I mean, they're tiny. They're little threads. I mean, if you over-tight them, they break. So taking a cue from Mike Everson, I use sheet metal screws. They're stainless steel. They're number 4 by 5/8 long. And although Mike's trim rings are just a little bit bigger, than the Factory 5 supplied ones diameter-wise, he does use a bigger screw. I think he uses a number 8 screw. So, like I said, all around I like Mike's better, just because they're designed better. They come with better hardware. They seem to hold up. But these are the ones we've got. These are the ones we're going to use. So I've already got the one side done. I'll show you that. And then it's already getting late here in the shop, so I'll probably catch you up on what I did last night tomorrow. But so here you can see it's going to look just like Factory 5 intends it to be. It's an oval head sheet metal screw, stainless steel. And again, it's a number 4 by 5/8 of an inch long. And you can see I got this one done, I got this one done, and I got the back one done. Now the reason I stopped to pick up the camera is because I wanted to show you the scary drill bit that I used to drill these. And you're going to go, why? Why is it so long? Well, there's a good reason. If you try to drill this with just a standard 1/16 inch, or in this case I'm using a 3/32 bit, your drill chuck is going to rub against the nice chrome roll bar, and you're going to booger up the chrome. If you do it this way, you keep the drill chuck away from the chrome. So I'm not going to drill it, but I'm going to show you. So this is the drill and the 12-inch extension that I'm using. And these are from, I think they're from Irwin. But you can see that it gets the drill away from the actual roll bar. If I was to drill it down here, I'd be right against the roll bar. Now if I move it to the other hole, you can see no matter where I drill this, I'm still going to have clearance. Okay? Even on those over there. So what I do is I drill one at a time, and then I put the drill away from the car because I don't want to knock it. And then I put one stainless steel screw in at a time, and I don't tighten it over tight. I just get it snug so that it's kind of holding the escutcheon, the trim, in place. And then I move on to the next one. I drill it, I tighten it down until it's snug, and then I drill the last, or on the back one there's actually 4 holes, so you'd have one more to drill after that. But that's how I do them. And then you can see all the dust that I'm creating on the back of the car. Just blow that off. Don't grab a rag and wipe it because you're going to scratch the paint. So that's what I'm working on right now. Probably tomorrow when I come out to the shop, I'll catch you guys up on everything else that I did to the car last night. Because a lot of that was in the trunk. And I left out a critical step on the front bumper. And I want to make sure that anybody that's doing a Mark IV understands that you got to do this. You can't get around it, even though it sucks royally that Factory 5 can't supply you with the parts that you need pre-drilled and pre-tapped. So I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. Well, good morning, everybody. I have been a little laxed over the last couple of days, and I was just mentioning to the wife this morning at breakfast that yesterday I got a lot of work done on the car. And the reason I got a lot of work done on the car is that normally when I have a break in something, meaning I have a transition between working on one part of the car to another, I'll usually pick up the camera and catch you guys up on what's going on. Yesterday I didn't do that. I just kept working. Every time I got to a certain point that I could have stopped. I just kept pushing forward, and I got a bunch of stuff done on the car. So I'm going to show you some of the easy stuff that I can show you while the car's up on the lift, and I'll catch you back up a little later today as I kind of take a walk around the car, because we've reached a critical, milestone on the car. We've only got one box left upstairs, and it's just, some aluminum panels for the splash shields in the front of the car, and then the door sills, and then that's it. It's the last box. Everything else is already down here. So here's what I did last night. The last thing I did before I went in for the evening, I put the side louvers in, and so they've had a chance overnight to set up, and they're secure. So the way I do these, and I'm sure I've gone over this before, but the louvers come with some 90-degree angle, and what I do is I lay them on a flat surface, and then I use some clear silicone to attach the 90-degree angle to the louvers flat. So both the louvers and the angle pieces are flat on the surface as I glue them together. And then what I do on the inside, let's see if I got a flashlight. On the inside, what I do is I use foil tape to hold them in place while the silicone cures overnight. So I attach them to the inside of the body with the same clear silicone that I use to attach the angle to the louvers. Now, I know I'm going to catch grief on this because someone out there is going to tell me that this is the wrong way of doing it. And you know what? I don't care. Because that silicone, with all these cars that we've done, and we've been doing these cars for 10 years, we've never had one of those louvers come loose. And here's the best part. Let's say you've got to service your windshield. Let's say you get a crack in your windshield and the glass needs to be replaced. It's not like a regular car where you just, go around it with a knife, a utility knife, to get the glass removed. You have to pull the entire windshield out in order to replace the glass. Now, you can try to remove the 4 screws that go into the brass strips on the side of each of the windshield. But that's more work than it's worth, because there are hooks at the top that kind of hold the windshield down. So you maneuvering them out once the 4 screws on each side are loose becomes an issue too. So it's easier to remove the windshield to replace a cracked piece of glass and do it on a bench than it is to try to do it in the car. In order to do that, you have to take the side louver out on the passenger side of the vehicle. Because I showed you, as I put the windshield in, I reach in through the side vent to get to the bolts that are on that post. Driver's side, not so much. You can get in there from the inside of the car. It's not a huge deal. But that passenger side, you have to get in through that louver. You can't get both hands in through the engine compartment or the hood to get to those bolts. So if you want to argue with me and say you can do it, good luck. Go for it. But that's the way you're going to get the windshield out. So if you ever have to get that louver out, all you have to do is take a sharp utility blade, get in there, cut the foil tape, go a little deeper, cut the silicone adhesive that holds the louver in, and the louver pops right out. And then when you're done, you put it back in the same way. So argue with me all you want about using HSRF and riv nuts and all this other stuff, but to me, it's a complete waste of time. Doing it my way, there's no visible screws, there's no visible pop rivets in the louvers. It looks nice and clean and finished when you're all done, and I have not had one come loose. So, got those in last night, and then before that, what I had been working on was the side pipes. So you can see over here, Jeff Miller does a great job. We clearanced for the side pipes before we left his shop, but they were still tight. And Jeff was getting tired, and we had been there all day, and I told Jeff, don't worry about it. I'll get it at the shop. So I did end up clearancing this by another 1/4 of an inch, and you can see there's just the littlest bit at the bottom right there of clearance for the side pipe. And the side pipes are nice and straight along the side of the car. We did come in here, and we tightened up all the hardware on the ball sockets, so those are nice and secure for now. And then we put in our side pipe hangers. So you can see right down in there the hangers in. And then underneath, I've got them all bolted in per Factory 5 instructions. Now, I got a question on the Facebook page when I posted some pictures. Because when you look at them, driver's side to passenger side, the hangers are at different heights. There's a reason for that, but it's hard to explain without seeing it. So I'm going to explain it to you guys here in the video. The actual side pipes themselves, I'm working around the tire that I've got sitting right there. The side pipes themselves come off of the engine at a little bit different angle on each side of the car, right? But the side pipes are produced pretty much as a mirror image of one another. So the bracket that's welded to them to get your hardware for your hanger on is going to be at a different angle, driver's side to passenger side. And so therefore, on one side of the car, the driver's side, the bolts, the mounting bolts for the bracket are much higher than they are on the passenger side. And that's just the way it is. The most important thing when you do these is to make sure that you have a reliable means to measure the tip of the side pipe to the ground and the bottommost tube over here to the ground. If those are the same side to side, then the bracket doesn't matter. So, one of my buddies always says, he says, Frank, you're being too critical. You can't see both sides of the car at the same time. And that's true. It still bothers me that the two hangers aren't symmetrical. And normally, up until this Mark IV ball socket header thing happened with Factory 5, I didn't run side pipe hangers because the headers are robust enough to support the entire weight of the side pipes. Mine have been on there for 12 years. I've had no issues with cracked headers, no issues with cracked side pipes. So they're plenty strong. But because of that ball and socket, you're now forced to use those hangers. And I hate it because it's one more thing that just bugs me that I cannot keep them symmetrical from side to side on the car. So I have to keep reminding myself, you can't look at both sides of the car at the same time. When you walk from one side to the other, you can't tell that they're different. So it's fine. So that's what I got done yesterday. I got that done for both sides of the car. I also did some stuff inside the car. I worked on getting the seat heaters installed, but I'm going to have to lower the car down for you guys to see that. I'm going to reiterate this again. I hate seat adjusters and seat sliders. They are the biggest waste of money and waste of time that you can possibly spend on one of these cars, because unless your wife is 4'2" and you're 6'5", you're never going to move the seat. There's not enough leg room in the car that you need to adjust the seat all that much. Put it in a fixed position, elevate the front of it to give you a little bit of bolster, and leave it alone. Because in order to hook up my front seat heater, or my seat base seat heaters, I had to pull the entire seat out again. And I just had the owner, when he was here, 2 weeks ago, install them, thinking, oh, we'll be able to slide the cord for the seat base seat heater right underneath the other cushion and get it. No, it doesn't fit. I had to pull the entire seat apart. Then I had to fish the cord and the wire connector through the back of the seat that the other cord went through. So now, if you need to pull the seats out, you just about have to disassemble the entire seat in order to get to the bolts, to pull the seat out, to unplug the seat heater. I mean, it sucks. So you do what you want. It's your car. I don't care. If I have a choice, I will never put seat heaters or seat adjusters or sliders in another one of these cars again, because it's a complete waste of time. So I'm going to lower the car down. I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to get that final box with the panels that I need in order to finish off the rest of the stuff on the car. And then I'll catch up with you guys probably a little bit later this afternoon. I'll kind of do a comprehensive walkthrough of everything that we've got done on the car to this point. And then, yeah, I'll catch up with you guys later. All right, it's been a long day in the shop, and I finished up the day not finishing what I was hoping to. I was going to try to get the access panels on in the trunk, the one for the gas sending unit and the fuel pump, and found that I don't have black pop rivets that are long enough, so I'm going to have to order some. But I did, in the trunk, get the knockout seals. These are electrical knockout seals that I use to, let me get this in here, to cover up the holes that we make in here for the bumper bolt and then for the strike latch. So there are 3 pieces. It's the actual cover, a screw, and then a backer. And so you loosen up the screw so that the backer's kind of loose, and you get the backer to go in on the flat surface of the material behind it, and then tighten down the screw, and then they're in place. So this one's in, and so is that one over there. So I got those in, but then, like I said, I ran out of black pop rivets that are long enough to get the cover plates mounted. So in here, I did get the mirror, the rear view mirror mounted, and I'm going to give you guys a little tip on this, especially if you're doing it on the painted body after everything's all finished. Run some masking tape across the front here and then across the top, and then you can use a combination square to mark where you want your center lines for your holes for your 2 mounting bases. Factory 5, I think, suggests to use a 1/8" drill bit to drill those, but the screws that they provide are a little bit bigger than that, and so I ended up using, I think it's a 9/32 drill bit. And then the screws just go in easier. They're still tight, but they just go in a little bit easier without trying to pull the fiberglass out of the hole. So I got that done. Yesterday, the whole seat debacle, it was a nightmare. I've had these seats in and out so many times, and I just wish never to repeat that again, but as luck would have it, the Texas car has the same seat base mounts, and it's going to have seat heaters, I believe, and so having learned my lessons, I am not going to mount the seats until I get the body painted, because it makes no sense. So that's in and done. I did get the switches mounted into the dash. I've got to go back and make sure they're all tight. I did reconnect the battery now, so we're going to have the same issue. The problem with these Coyote Gen 3 engine is something about the computer. When the battery's been disconnected for any length of time, or maybe at all, is that it doesn't want to run the fuel pump the first time you turn the key to start the engine. And so you end up having to try to start the car a number of times just to get it to fire. And I think it's kind of dumb the way that, it does that. I mean, it should run the fuel pump, so that it primes the engine, but for whatever reason it doesn't. So I'm going to probably have the same issue we had when I fire this thing again, that the owner had when we tried to, or when we did go-kart the car. I think we had to try to start it like 3 times, and then finally it fired. So we know there's not an issue with the engine. It's just the way the Ford computer is set up. So I'll just have to deal with that. Other things that I got done on the car were just a bunch of little stuff. I got the splash shield on this side in, but it's not finished. And the reason it's not finished is because I still am waiting on some vacuum fittings for the heater switch that I've got mounted in there. And I'm also tying in the, the variable vane something or other that Ford has in the Gen 3 Coyote intake manifold. So you have to send vacuum to that. I think maybe that's why the car shuttered when the owner took it for the first test drive. Maybe those vanes were closed or open or whatever. And so I found a thread on one of the forums that tells you that you have to provide vacuum. It doesn't automatically get vacuum. And so I've got some fittings ordered. I'm going to do that. So I've got those fittings ordered. I've got the black pop rivets ordered. And then I did the same thing over on this side. I got the splash shield all in place, and so that's looking pretty good. Still have to lube the front end of the car, so I'm probably going to put the wheels back on it temporarily, but and then I've got the wind wings out. I'm going to probably assemble the wind wings and the sun visors over the next couple of evenings and get those ready to go. This is the pile of things that are left. I mean, we've got the wipers, the horn, or not the horn, the wheel center for the steering wheel. These are the mirrors that the owner picked out. They're the stainless steel PEEP mirrors, so we're going to install those. The badges the owner will have to do himself because we want to let that paint cure. But that's about it. I mean, we're just working on all of the finishing touches to the car, and so I'm hoping that probably in the next video that will complete all of the assembly for the car. I should have the wipers and all that stuff done, but we'll see. And then after that, we'll do, you know, a final walkthrough or walk around of the car outside. Hopefully get some glamour shots done of it, weather permitting, and you know, we'll see how it goes. All right, so I don't know if it's been days since I had the camera. I don't know if I went over this or not. On the Mark IV overriders, if you're just running the overriders, you can actually just bolt them on. But if you're going to run the hoop, the front bumper hoop, you have to drill and tap new holes right here. I don't know if you can see my finger, inboard on each side, so that it offsets the overrider out. If you don't do that, what happens is your bumper bolts that go onto the chassis will be all skewed out to the side, and the hoop won't fit properly. So Factory 5 provides a template and a tap, but no drill bit. So you're going to have to make sure that you follow the instructions for the Mark IV bumper install from Factory 5, and don't just arbitrarily be bolting these on, because you're going to get yourself into trouble when you try to mount the hoop if you've already mounted the overriders and not drilled them and placed them properly. So there's that. And I think that's going to wrap this one up. As always, if you're enjoying the content here, please do the like, the share, the subscribe, comment, and we'll see you guys all next time. Have a great day.